तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं मां ब्रह्म निराकुर्यात् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु निराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति स्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम्। So we are starting with the Brahma Sutra. Second chapter, third quarter, first sutra, page 498. This section deals with the creation. Bhashyakar also discussed this in course of the Upanishad Bhashya also. The point that is sought to be made is about creation. That the Upanishad has no tatparya, no purport as far as the creation is concerned. So what is found is that different Upanishads seem to describe creation in different ways. Sometimes the sequence is different, sometimes the number of elements are different, as Bhashyakara will say. And then it looks like there are contradictions within the Shruti. And Vedantin's ultimate answer is that these contradictions do not matter because the Upanishad has no tatparya in Adhidocha. Humming parameters. Upanishad does not have tatparya in giving reality to creation. The purpose of describing creation is really to show the mithyatma of the creation. Ultimately, Adhidocha was. Adhidocha. And the purpose is in unfolding the Mahavakya, which describes the non-duality. So this is the idea here. And the discussion is now begun in the second chapter, the third quarter. And it is called the Vyat Adhikaranam. The first Adhikaranam, consisting of 7 sutras, is what we begin with here. Looking at the Ratna Prabha, Vyadadi Vidhataram Sita Syabja Madhupratam Nityachit Vishvakartaratma Bhinnam Sarveshwaram Bhaje. So Ratna Prabhakara is offering his self-performing prayer, offering salutation or worshipping Sarveshwaram Bhaje. I worship the Sarveshwara, the one who is the Lord of all, who is the Vyadadi Vidhataram. Aji आवाज मन मोटो लागे छे. Vidhataram, the creator of the universe, beginning with Vyat of the space. So one who is the creator of the universe, which has its beginning in space. Sitasya abja madhuvratam. Sitasya abja madhuvratam. Sitasya is the face of Sitaji. Abja, the lotus face of Sita. Madhuvratam, the honeybee or the Brahmara, who is very fond of the lotus in the form of the face of Sita, meaning Lord Rama. Nitya Chit Vishvakartru Atma Abhinnam is Nitya eternal, Chit the consciousness, Vishvakartru the creator of the universe, Atma Abhinnam is non-separate from Atma the self, that Rama Bhaje, I worship him. With this prayer, the Ratna Prabha begins the commentary. Says Jivasya Anutpatti Prasangena Agashasyapi Utpatti Asambhavam Ashankya. Showing the connection with the previous discussion. So what was the discussion earlier is Jivasya Anutpatti Prasangena, that there is no creation of Jiva. That Jiva is eternal, Atma is eternal, and therefore there is no creation of Atma. Then Akashasyapi Utpatti Asambhavam. Same thought is pursued. The Purva Pakshi says, similarly, space also is not created. Just as it was established in the previous section, how Jiva is not created, so also we say that Akash of the space is not created, space also is eternal. This is the opinion of the Naiyayikas, Vaisheshikas. Iti Ashankya Pariharan. So that Ashanka, Shanka is raised and then it is refuted. Ekadeshi Matamaha. So it begins with Purva Paksha, sort of. So, Ekadeshi Matam. The opinion of Ekadeshi, one who accepts Vedanta partially, So, that person's mata is presented here. Na Vyat Ashrute. Whereas Bhamati says, Purvam Pramanantar Virodha Shrutehe Nirakritaha. In the earlier discussion, in the second chapter, the Shrutehe Pramanantar Virodha. The Shruti talks about the non-duality. The other pramanas such as perception, etc. seem to reveal the duality. So that seems to be a contradiction between what the Upanishad says and what we experience. What we experience is duality. What the Upanishad is propounding is non-duality. The Upanishad is also pramanam. Perception also is pramanam. So pramananta virodha, there seems to be contradiction that Upanishad has with other means of knowledge. Nirakrita. So that was resolved that there is the Upanishad, what the Upanishad reveals does not contradict any other means of knowledge. Meaning that the perception etc. have their reach to the Vyavaharik Satta, whereas the Upanishad talks about the Paramarthik Satta. Therefore, there is no contradiction. The subject matters are different. Sampratitu Shruti Nameva Paraspara Virodho Nirakriyate. Now, Shruti Nam Paraspara Virodha. There is said to be a contradiction among the statement of Shruti itself, and that is now being resolved in this particular section. So the sutra says, Na vyada ashrutehe Na vyat ashrutehe. Vyat means akasha, na means no utpadyate, pratigna. Na vyat, vyat no utpadyate. Akasha is uncreated, is not created. How do you say that? Ashrutehe, that's a hetu. Ashrutehe, because Shruti Vakya Abhavat, Akashotpatti, Pratipadaka, Shruti Vakya Abhavat, because we do not find any Vakya or any statement of Shruti which propounds the creation of space. Meaning the Upanishad, we do not find any passage in the Upanishad which talks about the creation of space. Therefore, space is not created, it is eternal. Then we have the Vaiyasika Nyayamala here. The first two verses are there. It says, Vyoma nityam jayate va hetutraya vivarjanat janishrutesya gaunatvat nityam vyomana jayate. This style of the Vaiyasika Nyayamala. So this Nyayamala composed by Vidyaranya Swami, what it does is, in the two verses, it presents the essence of the entire Adhikarana. Adhikarana has its five aspects: Vishaya, Samshaya, then Purvapaksha, Uttarpaksha and Siddhanta. So first verse presents the Vishaya and Samshaya. So Vyoma, that's the Vishaya, the space. Nityam Jayate va, the doubt. Whether the space is Nityam, is it eternal, uncreated, Jayate va, or is it created? Then the Purvapakshi says, Na Jayate, Vyoma, Na Jayate, the space is not born. Why? Hetu Traya Vivarjanat. Because we will see, three kinds of causes are required for creation. The Nimitta Karanam, the Upadana Karanam, and what you call the Asamvaya Karanam. So three kinds of causes are required, and you do not find this cause is present for creation of the space. Therefore, that's one reason why we say that the space is not created. Janishrutesya gaunatvat. But then tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhutah. Upanishad says akasha was born, was created. It says gaunatvat. That's what is to be taken not in a primary sense, in the secondary sense, meaning it should not be taken for what it means literally. It serves a different purpose. Nityam vyomana jayate. For these two reasons, we have to say that vyoma, the space, is not created. So the Tika here says, Taitiriyake tasmadva etasmad atmanah akasha sambhutah. If you have Vaiyasika Nyayamala, it's page 122, at least in my edition. That would be different. 62 in the Ananda and Kailasashram. तैत्तिरीय के तस्माद्वा एतस्माद् आत्मनः आकाश संभूतः इति श्रूयते. So that is the subject matter. That Taittiriya Upanishad there, we read this passage that from tasmadva etasmad, from that Brahman which is the self, Akasha, the space was created. Then tatra akasham nityam nadu janmavata. Question is whether Akasha is eternal or not. Then the Purva Paksha says, Tatra Akasham Nityam Nadu Janmavata. Because Vaisheshikas, Nayayikas, they believe that Akasha is eternal. So it says, Akasha is eternal, Nityam Nadu Janmavat, not possessed of birth or not created. Kutaha, why do you say that? Akashotpadakasya samavai asamavai nimittakya karana tridayasya dussampadhatvat. First of all, in the beginning, sadeva soumya idam agrasit ekameva dvityam. Brahman is one without a second, without any help. He doesn't have the material, he doesn't have the nimitta, such as the pot maker requires the clay, which is the upadana karana. He requires a wheel, which is a nimitta karana. And then they call it ansamvaya karana, not inherent. Some other karanas are there. This is yathat tantu sanyoga patasya. For weaving the cloth, there was sanyoga, the union of the different the threads, the yarn. That's called asamvaya karana. Anyway, so idea is that in the beginning of creation, these causes required for creation are not there. So how can creation take place? Secondly, sambhuta iti janishutistu sampadipanna brahmakaryavat vyomni sattashrayatva gunayogat pravutta. But Upanishad says Akasha Sambhutaha, the space emerged, space was created, was born. Then says how it is Gaunam. Sambhutaha iti Jani Shruti means the Shruti talking about Janma or creation. Sampradipanna Brahmakarivat. What happens is that whatever is created from Sat also has inherence of Sat. Just as whatever is created from clay has inherence of clay, so also whatever is created from Sat inheres the Sat. So Ghatasan, Patasan, Matasan, that Ghata possesses the existence, Pata possesses existence, the elephant possessed, etc. Hasti, Sun Hasti, etc. Similarly, Sun Akasha, that's all. Akasha also has that Sat. That is why in a secondary sense it is said that Akasha is created. The Ghata, Pata, Mata are all created in primary sense, and what is created possesses existence, and Akasha also possesses existence. Therefore, in a secondary sense it is that Akasha also is created, not that it is really created. Sattashrayatva gunayogat. Just as Ghata is Ashraya for the locus of existence, and Pata also locus of existence, so also Akasha is the locus of existence, and therefore it is said that it is created. Tasmat anadyantam vyoma na jayate. Vyoma is anadyantam. Vyoma is without beginning, without the end. Na jayate. It is not born, it is not created. It is a Purva Paksha. Iti prapte brumaha. When that Purva Paksha obtains, then this is what we have to say. And second verse says, Eka jnanat sarvabuddhehe vivaktatvat janishrutehe vivarte karanekatvat brahmano vyoma jayate. See, we have to take every passage of Upanishad with reference to the overall purport. And therefore, the main thought in this Chhandogya Upanishad is Eka Vijnanat Sarva Vijnanam. Yena Ashrutam Shrutam Bhavati Amatam Matam Avijnatam Vijnatamiti. By knowing one, everything becomes known. That is possible only if that one is non-dual, is all inclusive. If there is one and then two, then knowing one thing, the second thing cannot be known. There is only one, then by knowing one, everything can be known. Therefore, it says, Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Tavat Ashesheshu Vedanteshu Dindimaha. Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam. Knowing everything by knowing one thing. Ashesheshu Vedanteshu. Anyway, not in every Upanishad, but then in several Upanishads the theme occurs. Kasmin bhago vijñāte sarvedam vijñānam bhavati iti. Mundaka Upanishad also says, ask this question, O revered sir, what is it knowing which everything becomes known? And Brihadaranyaka has that theme, and Chhandogya has that theme. And therefore we accept that all the Upanishads, since they talk about the same topic, therefore all Upanishads also accept that knowing one thing, everything becomes known. Yad jnatva ne bhoyo nyat jnatavyam avashishyate. Bhagavad Gita also says, having known which, nothing remains to be known. So that is how Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam. Vedanteshu Dindimaha Ghosha. All the Vedanta of the Upanishads declare this in one voice. Tacha vyomnaha brahma karyatve mrudghatan nyayena brahma avyatirekad upapadaitum sushakam nanyatha. And when can you prove that by knowing Brahman everything becomes known? If nothing stands apart from Brahman, if Brahman includes everything, then only by knowing Brahman everything can be known. Just as only if gold includes all the ornaments, then by knowing gold all ornaments are known. So by knowing Upadana Karanam, the effects are as well known. The Brahman has to be Upadana Karanam of everything. Then alone by knowing Brahman everything can be known. Therefore, Vyomna Brahma Karyatve, only if the Vyoma of the space is born of Brahman, Upadana Karanam. Vrudghata Nyayana, by the rule of the clay and the pot. By knowing the clay, the pot is as well known. So by knowing Upadana Karanam, the effects are as well known. And that way by knowing Brahman, everything can be known. Brahma Vyatirekat, this is Ghata or pot is non-separate from clay. So also everything must be non-separate from Brahman. Then only by knowing Brahman, everything can be known. Brahma Vyatirekat upapadaitum sushakam. Something around here. Kincha akasham jayate vibhaktatvat ghatavata. The rule is that whatever stands apart from something else, that must be created. Like ghata, pata, matha, all of these things stand apart from each other. They are all divided from each other. They mutually exclude each other. So thus, whatever is mutually exclusive must be necessarily born, must be a vikara. So, what is divided or what is limited by others must be a vikara or modification. What is modification must be created. And so also, space is different from vayu. Akasham jayate vibhaktatvat space also stands apart from other four elements. Vibhaktatvat, it is divided with others. Ghatavat, like a pot, space also is in the category of pot because it stands apart from other elements. Therefore, it is created just as a pot is created. Who but nachayam asiddho hetuhu vibhaktatvat. Who says that the space is different from others? Says vayavadi vailakshanyasya akashe prasiddhatvat. Because it is well known that space is different from air and fire and water and earth. There are five elements distinct from each other, and space is one of the elements, therefore distinct from other four. Therefore, it is vibhaktam, it is separate, it is limited. Therefore, it is created. There's a Brahmani anaikantikatvam. Then Brahman also, same rule applies to Brahman also. The Upurupakshi says, Brahman also is different from, Brahman is conscious and Jagat is Jadam. So Brahman also is divided from Jagat. Says no. Sarvatmakasya Brahmana kasmachidapi vibhaktatvasya durbhanatvat. Brahman is Sarvatma. It is self of all. Stavaram jangamam vyaptam yat kinchit sacharacharam akhanda mandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam, etc. etc. So Brahman pervades everything. Characharam, sentient and insentient, whatever that is pervaded by Brahman. Therefore, nothing stands apart from Brahman. And therefore, you cannot separate anything from Brahman. Vibhaktatvasya durbhanatvat. Therefore, that Brahman, nothing is separate from Brahman. Therefore, everything is the creation of Brahman. Janishrutisya utpattivadini anugrihita bhavati. You can't prove something by logic. Logic, the anumana is presented, tarka is presented. Akasham jayate vibhaktatvat ghatavat. So that inference is okay, but inference cannot become independent pramana. Therefore, here the argument is Janishrutisya utpattivadini anugrihita bhavati. Janishruti means the statement of passage of Upanishad describing the creation of space. Tasmad vaya tasmad atmana akasha sambhuta. That statement also anugrihita bhavati also becomes supporting. So the Shruti also supports the inference. Therefore, inference also has a strength. So this is one reason why Akasha is created. The second line of that Nyayamala said, Vivarte karanaikatvat brahmano vyomajayate vivarte karanaikatvat. Parinamavada, you require three karanas. Where pot is the vikara, the modification of clay, for that kind of creation, you require three entities. You require the maker, the material, and some other stuff you require, like space and time and all this you require. But vivarte, because vivarte or projection, you don't need, so for dream, for example, you don't require the material. You don't require any nimitta karana, such as the pot, the creation of the pot in dream doesn't require potter's wheel, etc. So Vedanta accepts what we call vivarta upadana karana, meaning that the universe is projected upon Brahman and not created from Brahman. Brahman doesn't become the universe is projected upon Brahman. For projection, you just require the adhisthana, the substratum, nothing else is required. So that's what the Tika says, Yattu Kanatrita Asambhaveti Yuktam. Second reason you advance to us that these three kinds of causes are not there, tad asat, that's not right. Arambhavade trita apekshayamapi. Those accept arambha, the creation of a new thing, for that these three causes are required. Vivartavade tat anapekshatvat. In the vivartavada, that is not required. Therefore, tasmat etebhyah hetubhyah brahmana karanat vyoma jayate. For these reasons, we say that space is born of Brahman. This is the crux of all these 7 sutras making up one adhikaranam. Going back to our Brahma Sutra, says Ratnaprabha, Vyet pranapadayo artham sankshipan purvapadena sangatim aha. See, we are in the Tritiya Pada, the 3rd quarter of the 2nd chapter. Every chapter has 4 quarters. This 3rd quarter begins with na Vyat, begins with Vyat. So this Pada is called Vyat Pada. You know? That's how every sutra, every adhikara also has a name. And every sutra also may have a name, Pada has a name. In the 4th quarter, says Tatha Pranaha. So that's called Pranapada, okay? So 3rd quarter is called Vyatpada, 4th quarter is called Pranapada. So this discussion of Shrutinam Paraspara Virodha, the apparent contradiction that we find among the statements of Shruti, is being resolved in these 2 quarters. Therefore, Vyat Pranapadayo Artham Sankshipan. Now, what is to be done? What the Sutrakara is doing in this 3rd and the 4th quarters is Artham Sankshipan. So, summarizing what is going to be done in these 2 quarters, Purvapadena Sangatimaha. So, what these two quarters are doing, how is it connected with what is done in the earlier quarter? The Sangati or connection is given by Bhashyakara first, Vedanteshu iti. So Bhashya says, Vedanteshu tatra tatra vinna prasthanaha utpatti shrutayaha upalabhyante. Vedanteshu tatra tatra, Vedanteshu, the Upanishads, tatra tatra, in those respective places, here and there in the various Upanishads. Vinna prasthanaha utpatti shrutaya upalabhyante. Utpatti shrutaya, that statements dealing with the creation of universe. Upalabhyante, we find them Vinna prasthanaha, representing different orders, representing the different sequence. That's what we find. So represent different viewpoints, different schools of thought, different prasthana. In short, in different Upanishads, we find the statements of the creation which are different from each other. In terms of the sequence, in terms of the number of elements, in terms of sequence, lack of sequence, etc. Bhashyakara will explain. Vinna upakramatvam evaha. Vinna prasthan, vinna upakrama. The beginning is different in those Shrutis. So, in what way are they different? Bhashyakara says that the different passages relating to the creation in different Upanishads seem to begin differently. So describe creation in different manners. So where do you find this? So Bhashyakara illustrates where we find these differences. Kechiditi. Kechita akashasya utpattim amananti kechita na. Kechit akashasya utpattim amananti. There are some passages of the Upanishad which talk about the utpatti, the creation of space. Kechitna, and others talk about creation all right, but they do not mention space. In Chhandogya, space is not mentioned. In Taittiriya, space is mentioned. In Aitareya, nothing is mentioned. So there are some passages which talk about creation of space. There are other passages elsewhere which do not talk about the creation of space. Tatha kechid vayoho utpattim amananti kechid na. Tatha kechid vayoho utpattim amananti. Some Shruti statements, such as Taittiriya Upanishad, they again describe the creation of Vayu, Akashat Vayu, whereas Chhandogya does not mention Vayu or air. This is the Vyadadhikarana, Vyadpada. Next is Pranapada. Then Bhashyakara says, Evam Jivasya Prananam Cha. Even in this manner, Jivasya, some Upanishads talk about creation of Jiva, others don't. Some talk about creation of Prana. Prana also came in sense organs, So, some talk about the creation of Prana, others do not talk about creation of Prana. So this is called Bhoktru, as Anandagiri says, Na kevalam bhuta vishaya srishti shruti vimatihi apitu bhoktru bhoga upakarana vishayapi sastiti. So vimatihi, there is a difference of opinion of the Shrutis with reference to creation of elements. That's called Bhuta Vishaya. Then there is Bhokta, the Jiva. There is a difference also in the creation of the Jivas and Prana, which is the Bhoga Sadhanam. So three things are there. Bhokta is there, Bhogya is there, and Bhoga Karanam is there. For me to see something, I am the seer, that is Bhokta. The objects are seen, that is Bhogya. And eyes are there, which is a Karanam. So there were Bhoktru Bhoga Upakarana Vishayapi Sasti. The Bhokta, Bhoga, Bhoga Upakarana. So with reference to Prana and the Jiva also, these differences are there. Then Bhashyakara continues. Evameva karmadi dvarakopi vipratishedah shrutyantareshu upalakshyate. Similarly also, Kramadidvarakopi, Krama means sequence. So sequence also is different. Kramadidvarakopi vipratishedaha. This internal mutual contradiction. Internal contradiction. There is an internal contradiction among the different Upanishads when it comes to Krama or sequence. Ratnavara will explain that. So sequence also is different. Somewhere the sequence is not there altogether. So that vipratisheda, that contradiction also is found. So contradiction is found in terms of the creation of number of elements. The Taittiriya talks about 5 elements, Chhandogya talks about 3 elements, Taittiriya doesn't talk about elements. That is sequence also. One kind of sequence is mentioned in the Taittiriya Upanishad, other kind of sequence in the Chhandogya Upanishad. If you read the Ratnaprabha, भूत भोक्तृ श्रुतीनां मिथो विरोध शंका निरासो वियत पादार्थः. Bhuta Bhoktri Shrutina. Bhuta means the 5 elements and Bhokta means the Jiva. Mitho Viroda Shanka Nirasa Vyat Padartha. The mutual or internal contradiction which is there with reference to creation of the elements as well as creation of Jiva, that contradiction is resolved in this pada called the Vyat Pada. Linga Sharira Shrutinam Tan Nirasa Prana Padartha. Whereas creation of subtle body, which means the prana elements, the sense organs, etc., the contradiction found with reference to that is resolved in the next pada called the Prana Pada. Alright, continuing with Bhashya. विप्रतिषेधाच्च परपक्षाणाम् अनपेक्षितत्वं स्थापितं तद्वद स्वपक्षस्यापि विप्रतिषेधात् एव अनपेक्षितत्वम् आशंक्येत इत्यतः सर्ववेदान्तगत सृष्टिश्रुत्यर्थ निर्मलत्वाय परः प्रपञ्चः आरभ्यते. So there is a Bhuta Dwaraka, there are a number of elements, there is a contradiction, the sequence there is a contradiction. So what does that contradiction do? Even the same topic, one Upanishad says one thing, other Upanishad says another thing, that is the internal contradiction. What will that contradiction do? Vipratishedacha, because of that internal contradiction. Parapakshanam anapekshitatvam. What happened is, in the previous discussion, the Purva Pakshis are dismissed because there was internal contradiction within themselves. So what the Sankhya say and they contradict each other, contradict themselves. There are internal contradictions in their statement. The statements were dismissed. However, now the Upanishad also falls in the same category because there are internal contradictions within the Upanishad also. Therefore, Upanishad view also can be dismissed on the same ground. Tat swapakshasyapi vipratishedaadeva. Because of the internal contradiction obtaining in Vedanta also. Anapekshitatvam, ignoring, dismissing. Ashanketa, on the same ground the Purva Pakshi can say that the Upanishads also are not pramanam, they also should be dismissed. That Shanka can arise on why see in the part of somebody. So what the Sutrakara does is, he pursues a logical way of thinking. So when the previous discussion was centered upon refuting the Purva Paksha on the ground that the Purva Paksha has internal contradiction, then now you find that there are internal contradiction in the Upanishad also, then on the same ground, Upanishad also can be dismissed as pramana. Ityataha, because of that, सृष्टि श्रुतिषु आपातिक विरोधोक्त्या तत्फलम उक्त्वा अनंतरपादो अवतारते इत्यतः. That if the virodha is there, the Shrishti Shruti, then the Shruti statements will be dismissed as apramanam. That's the problem. Therefore, what the next two padas do is ityatah. Sarva Vedantagata Srishti Shruti Artha Nirmalatvaya. Therefore, taking all these Shrutis, all these statements talking about creation, all the Upanishads. So there must be samandvaya ekavakyata. Meaning that all the Upanishads should necessarily say the same thing. This is a need. Vedanta nama Upanishad pramanam. Vedanta means Upanishad, which is pramanam. A pramanam, or means of knowledge, must be consistent. Whereas apparently these statements of the Upanishads, they appear to be not consistent with each other. Therefore, we have to establish consistency among them. Then only they can be pramanam, otherwise they cannot be pramanam. So this is what Sutrakara has to do. That's called samandvaya. So the consistency among all the Upanishads. That all the Upanishads have their subject matter in Brahman. Brahman, Jiva, Brahma, Aikya, the non-duality between Jiva and Brahman. And that is done by showing how Jiva and Brahma are one. This is Advitiyatvam, non-duality. Ekameva Advitiyam, what is Brahman, what is the Ishvara. Now that can be established only if the duality that we experience is mithya and not real. So duality, the subject-object duality, this universe, that duality must necessarily be mithya, then alone non-duality can be satyam. Therefore, the whole creation, including our own body-mind complex, must be mithya, not real. Must be projection, then alone it can be mithya, and then alone this self, the consciousness of Brahman, can be non-dual. See, that's how the Vedantin proceeds, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Nahapara. That's why Brahma is Satyam, Jagat or creation is Mithya. So that's how the Sutrakara and Bhashyakara will establish how the creation, that's why Srishti Shrutinam Aswartha Paratvat. The Srishti Shrutis, they serve the purpose of revealing mithyatva of the creation or non-duality Brahman and not the reality of creation. The purpose of describing creation is not to convey that the creation is real. It is to convey that creation is mithya and Brahma alone is real. Therefore, mitho virodepi tatpad vakya pramanyat. So when it is mithya, what does it matter what you say? Therefore, the Vedanta will dismiss that virodha by saying that it is all mithya. Therefore, the virodha, the purpose is in fact in non-duality and not in the reality of creation. Therefore, Sarvedantagata Srishti Shrutyartha Nirmalatvaya. Nirmalatvam. For clarifying, for purifying, for showing the consistency. See, Nyayana says, Tadartha Nirmalatvam Arthavasa Nivritya Samyagartha Dihi. So that artha, what is meant by artha nirmalatva? What is meant by showing that nirdoshatva? That the Upanishad is nirdosha pramanam. There is no dosha involved there. Artha abhasa nivritya. There is artha and artha abhasa. So what the Vedanta will say is that when the creation is described, it is not to be taken literally, it is taken only in a secondary sense. If you take it literally, there is contradiction. If you take it secondary sense, there is no contradiction. So artha avasa nivritya. So whatever artha avasa is there, that is nivritya, meaning that is refuted. That is how the consistency of all the passages dealing with creation is established. Going to Ratnaprabha, in the fourth line, Yatha mitho virodhat purvapara virodhat cha parapakshaha upekshaha. Yatha mitho virodhat. They contradict each other also. The Sankhya contradicts in Vaisheshika and he contradicts this fellow. Each one contradicts the other. So, mitho virodhat. Sometimes they have internal contradiction, but basically they contradict each other. Therefore, there is no consistency in their opinion. Therefore, they are dismissed. Purvapara virodhacha. Sometimes what you said later contradicts what you said earlier. That's the internal contradiction. So, sometimes you begin with one position and through argument you arrive at some conclusion which is quite different from what you began. That's a purvapara virodha. So that also is wrong, and the mutual contradiction also is wrong. Therefore, parapakshaha upekshaha. See, this is what was done in the Mandukya Karika in the Alat Shanti Prakarana. What the Karikara presents in the fourth chapter of the Mandukya Upanishad is presents the views of the different thinkers on the nature of creation. And they all fight among each other, they're all dismissed, they dismiss each other. Then whoever remains last is what you have to dismiss. So Bauddha is the last one that remains, that's what the Vedanta has to dismiss. But then other than that, they all dismiss each other. So that is how mitho virodha. Therefore, parapakshaha upekshaha. Therefore, the opinions or the position of the opponents, they upekshaha, they should be ignored. Tata, Shruti Pakshopi upekshaha, but the same contradiction obtains among the Upanishads, therefore, that also must be ignored. Iti shanka uttha shanko utthane, when the shanka, the doubt is raised. Padadvesya arambhat, for that purpose, these two quarters are commenced here. Purvapadena drishtanta sangati iti samudayartha. Purvapadena drishtanta sangati. The Purvapakshi gives the drishtanta of what we proved for creating the Purvapaksha here. Now, the Ratnavara shows where the contradictions are. Akashavayoho utpattim amananti taitiriyakaha. The followers of the recension of the Taittiriya Upanishad, they talk about the creation of space and air. All the five elements, space, air, fire, water and earth. Na amananti Chhandogya. Whereas they, as we saw in the sixth chapter of Chhandogya Upanishad, they talk about the creation of three elements, the fire, water and earth. they don't talk about the space and air. One thing, Jivasya prananam chotpattim sarve ete atmanah vicharanti vajyanah. The Chhandogya Upanishad, belonging to the Shukla Yajurveda, says sarve ete atmanah vicharanti. Just as the sparks emerge from fire, so also these atmas emerge from Brahman. Thus they seem to talk about the creation of jiva. Etasmat jayate prana iti atharvanikas amananti. And the utpatti of prana is talked about by the Kaivalya Upanishad. Etasmat jayate prana. Manas sarvendriyani, etc. And so they talk about the creation of prana, but nobody else talks. Only Brihadaranyaka Upanishad talks about the creation of jiva and no other Upanishad. Only the Kaivalya Upanishad talks about the creation of prana, but no other Upanishad. Thus, there are contradictions among Upanishad when it comes to how many elements are there, whether space and air are also created or not, there is a problem. Whether the Atma and Prana are created or not, there also is a problem. Evam Akasha Purvika Kvachit Srishtihi Kvachit Teja Purvika Yadi Krama Virodha. So Virodha, contradiction in number of elements as well as in sequence. Tasmadva tasmad akasha. So Taittiriya Upanishad talks about akasha as the first element created. Chhandogya talks about this fire as the first element created. Therefore, krama virodha, there is contradiction in the sequence also, or the order. Adipadat. Even Kramadi Dwarako. Kramadi, there are Adi Padat. So Iman Lokan Asrujata. Where is that? Aitharya Upanishad. So Iman Lokan Asrujata. He created these worlds. Idya Kramaha. There is no Krama mentioned, no elements are mentioned at all, and no sequence is mentioned. Kvachit sapta pranaha. Sometimes I talk about 7 pranas, like obtaining on our face. Kvachit astaviti. Sometimes 8 pranas are mentioned. Ityadi sankhya dvarakasya virodho grahya hai. So that is the virodha in this sankhya, the number of pranas also, and so that contradiction also is there. Therefore, Sarva Vedanta Gada Srishti Shrutyartha Nirmalatvaya. By removing the contradictions, obtaining, you have to show the consistency among all the Shrutis. For that purpose, Paraha Prapancha Arabhyade is subsequent Prapancha, the expansion, the elaboration. The subsequent elaboration is begun for the purpose of removing the contradictions which appear among the Shruti statements. What is Prapancha? Prapancha Padadvayam. The next 2 padas are begun for this purpose. Says न्याय निर्णय ननु मुमुक्षूणाम उक्त समन्वयादेव तत्वधीलाभात कृतमेतत् निर्मलत्वेन इति. Look, mumukshus don't need this discussion. Ukta samanvayadeva. The whole first chapter is called the Samanvaya Adhyaya, which shows the consistency among the Brahma Vakya, the passages delineating Brahman. And the two padas of the second chapter also dismiss the views of all other smrutis, all other thinkers like Sankhyas, etc. So we are satisfied. We are satisfied that the Shruti is Pramanam, and therefore the Samyagdhi or the knowledge of the Brahman self will take place. Krutam etad nirmalatva. Why worry about this Srishti, Shruti and all this contradiction? It doesn't matter, we don't simply require that, he says. Tatra, therefore, Bhashyakara says, tadartha nirmalatve cha phalam yathokta ashanka nivrittireva. Tadartha nirmalatve. Only when the passages and what they convey is without any defect, is nirdosham, then only. Yathokta ashanka nivrutti. Then this ashanka, that because there appears to be mutual contradiction among Upanishads, therefore Upanishad also may be dismissed as not pramanam. That shanka also needs to be resolved. And therefore, even if there is consistency when it comes to Brahman, there is consistency also with reference to creation. That also is required. Therefore, justification of this discussion. Says in Nyaya, Ved ekadeshasya virodat apramanya. If one part of the Veda contradicts the others, then no more remains pramanam. Tad ekadeshandrasyapi tatheva pramanya shankaya. See, one part of the Veda is not pramanam. Other part of the Veda also becomes not pramanam, In the Veda, the whole Veda, pramanam is all, the eyes must be pramanam. Only when it is whole, then the eyes will reveal what is right. When I go out, if they don't reveal what is, they reveal differently, eyes can't be called pramana, it must be consistent. Similarly also, the Veda must be consistent throughout. It's a big job. With the Mimamsakas, they have done a huge job of showing the consistency of the entire Veda. They have taken every statement of Veda and showed how everything is pramana. Therefore, if one part of the Veda is not pramanam, the Srishti Shruti, then others also may not be pramanam. Iti ashanka, that ashanka may arise. Tat samanvayat tattvajnana siddhe. Only when that samanvaya is there, only when that ashanka is not there, only when there is consistency, then only tattvajnanam can take place. Otherwise, tattvajnana cannot take place. Brahma karana pakshasya anapekshणीयत्व शंका निवृत्ति तदर्थ निर्मलत्वे फलति इत्यर्थः. Brahma karana pakshasya anapekshणीयत्व शंका. That Brahman is karanam, that paksha is questioned here, and therefore if there is not consistency, it may be dismissed to remove the doubt. Shanka nivritti, necessary to remove the doubt of contradiction. So the contradiction must be resolved. Tadartha nirvritve phalati. Then all the shankas with reference to Vedas, the pramanya, all of that goes away when this discussion is carried out. Ittam padadvaya sambandhe sthite. See how Bhashyakara first gave the sambandha, the connection of these two padas, two quarters, which essentially talk about the same theme of showing the consistency among the statements of Shruti. Therefore, these two quarters fall in one category. Bhutabhoktru Srishtyadi Stuti Vivada Apavade Cha Tritiya Pade Sati. And the third pada is the for Bhuta Bhoktru Sushtyadi Stuti Vivada Apavadate. There is no Vivada, no contradiction also when it comes to creation of the Jivas, the Pranas, or the rather than this Sukshma Sharira. Adhyadhikara. Now, what is Tattva Adhyadhikara? Now we come to this particular Adhikaranam. What is Tattvarya of this Adhikaranam? Tatra it is, Bhashyakara says. Or also we should look at the Ratnaprabha. Tatha cha Padadvayasya Shrutinam Mitho Viroda Nirasartatvat Shruti Shastra Adhyaya Sangataya Siddha. So many Sangatis you have to establish. What preceded, what follows. And then, what is the connection that this Adhikarana has with this Pada, with this Adhyaya, with the text, and the Sutra has. So, Tat Tadacha Padadvayasya Shrutina Mitho Viroda Nirasartatvat. Because these two quarters address themselves to remove the Virodha or the contradiction among the Shrutis. Shruti, Shastra, Adhyaya, Sangata, Siddhaha. Therefore, what is the relation Shruti? That the contradiction of the Shruti is removed. Shastra, and that's how the Samanvaya of the whole Shastra is established. Adhyaya, therefore this Adhyaya also serves the same purpose of removing the contradiction. That's how consistency among the Shruti, Shastra, Adhyaya is shown. Then, what are we talking about this Adhikarana? Coming to that, says Ratnaprabha, Akashasya Utpatti Anutpatti Shrutyoho Mitho Virodha Asti Navaidi. Coming to the specific topic that this particular Adhikaran discusses, Akashasya Utpatti Anutpatti Shrutyoho. Some Shruti talks about the Utpatti, the creation of Akasha. Other Shruti like Chhandogya does not talk about the creation of Akasha, and therefore Mitho Virodha Asti Nava. Are these two Shrutis contradicting each other or they do not contradict? Iti Vakya Veda Eka Vakyatva Abhyam Sandehe. Whether the Eka Vakyata, whether they convey the same meaning or they convey different meanings, that Sandeha is there. Yadi Utpatti Tada Vakya Vedena Virodada Pramanyam Anayo Shrutyo iti. Yadi Utpatti, if there is a creation of space, then Vakya Vedena, then somewhere the creation is not mentioned, somewhere the creation is mentioned, therefore the different Vakyas convey different sense. Virodha Pramanyam, therefore the Shrutis will contradict each other, therefore Shruti will no more. Therefore the Purvapakshi wants to say that the Shruti talking about the creation of the space must be Gauni. So that it does not contradict Shruti, it doesn't talk about creation of space. That's his position. Anayoho Shrutyoho iti Purvapakshaisyan. So meaning that the Purvapakshi wants to say that one Shruti says there is creation of space, other Shruti says the other Shruti does not mention the creation of space. Therefore, if you say that creation of space is there, then that Shruti becomes primary Shruti. Then there is a contradiction among the Shrutis, and therefore the Shruti will not have Pramanyam. We say space is not created, then the Shruti talking about the creation of space is Gauni, then there is no contradiction. That's his position. Purvapakshaishan Adau Anutpatti Paksham Ekadeshi Grunnati. Ekadeshi, the pseudo Vedantin, Grunnati, he takes the one Paksha. What is the Anutpatti? Akasha is not created. According to him, you know what the Pseudo-Vedantin wants to do? Wants to say that Shruti is Pramanam. But Shruti is Pramanam, only Akasha is not created. That way he takes that. But he thinks he is helping us, By saying that Akasha is not created, that Akasha Jani Shruti is Gauni, and therefore that contradiction is not there. That way he thinks that he is serving the purpose of Vedanta by showing that Vedanta is Pramanam. But then he is not serving the purpose. That's why he is Vedanta Ekadeshi. Tatra tavat. So Bhashyakara says, before that, the Adhikarana Tatparya says here, Tatra Pratham Tavat Akasham Ashritya Chintyate Kim Asya Akashasya Utpattihi Asti Uta Nasti Te Tatra Prathamam Tavat. This particular Adhikaranam to begin with, Akasham Ashritya Chintyate. This deliberation is performed with reference to Akasha or space. Kivasya Akashasya Utpatti Asti Uta Nasti. Of this space, is there the creation or not? With that, this deliberation is performed with reference to space. So then, Ekadeshi Gurnvadi. Ekadeshi is like a Purva Paksha. Ekadeshi says here, Tatra Tavat. Bhashyakara says, Tatra Tavat Pratipadyate Navyata Ashrutehe Iti Tatra Tavat Pratipadyate. So when it comes to this is what we have to say. Who says? Vedanta Ekadeshi, Pseudo-Vedantin, who is like the Purva Pakshi, Na Vyat Ashrutehi. So he says, Na Vyat, space is not created because there is no statement of Shruti. Meaning that when it says no statement of Shruti, there is a statement in the Taittiriya, but that is Gaunam. That being the case, there is no statement. You see, that is his position. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhaga